Welcome to the HuntFishTravel podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Zilka, and currently I am obsessed with ice fishing because it's winter in Wisconsin, and that's what we do around here. Most of the northern Midwest, I think, loves ice fishing. However, the creme de la creme of ice fishing destinations is Lake of the Woods, Minnesota, which I have on my bucket list, but I haven't yet gotten there. So today we have Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tourism Bureau to chat with us about all things Lake of the Woods and ice fishing, and I have a feeling other stuff because he's a pretty fun dude. So, Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey, Carrie, how you doing?
I am good. Are you getting a lot of rain up there? Because it is raining down here, which I'm not happy about.
Rain? No,
Yeah.
We're not getting rain up north. No rain here. Oh no, we got a couple feet of ice. We got the big trucks out, and all the fish houses are out. I mean, it's winter at Lake of the Woods. There's no doubt about that.
What is the average ice depth up by you these days?
Right now probably between 20 and 24 inches. I mean, it's we got a real nice start. We actually had permanent fish houses out about December 15th this year, and normally we'll get permanents out, give or take, because of the weather, but about December 10th. So a pretty good start.
That's awesome. I mean, obviously you guys are quite a bit more north than Milwaukee, but we don't ever have safe ice really until after the first of the year. So that extra couple of weeks of ice fishing that sounds so nice.
Oh, it makes a difference. And boy, I tell you that first ice is usually pretty darn good ice too.
I know, right? So let's introduce you a little more to the listeners. Are you from Minnesota originally? Tell us how you got into the tourism part of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm from Minnesota. I'm from St. Cloud, Minnesota, actually, which is the central part of the state. And I actually started going up to Lake of the Woods fishing about 25 years ago. And for me to go to Lake of the Woods, I had to pass up a lot of really, really good water in my travels to Lake of the Woods, if that tells anything about the fishery. And, after going up there for about 20 years, I had an opportunity to become the tourism director. That was 5 years ago. And, it's been great. I mean, what's the old saying? If you ever have a chance to work within your passion, you'll never work another day in your life. And, for me, I've always loved Lake of the Woods. That's where I went for my happy time, and I get to represent it. So I, of course, feel very honored.
That's cool. So what exactly does a tourism director do?
Well, I guess for Lake of the Woods, we're such a fishing market that it helps that I have some fishing credentials. So I'm a licensed charter captain, and I fish walleye tournaments, and then. From a tourism perspective, so much of what we do, the way most tourism bureaus exist, whether it's, Wisconsin or Minnesota, the Dakotas, wherever, is typically there's a lodging tax. So when you go and, stay at a resort or a hotel, when you check out, there's always some taxes at the bottom. And, in Minnesota, the most common tax is a 3% lodging tax. So for every dollar you spend on lodging in Lake of the Woods County, there's a 3% tax. And that creates a pool of money that we can use to spread the love, spread the word of Lake of the Woods. It's part education, part promotion, and we market Lake of the Woods to get in front of people that may be interested in coming. And that's one of the ways that we keep our resorts and businesses up in the very tip top of Minnesota, where people aren't going to be driving through there. That's definitely a destination you drive to. That's how we keep that the businesses up there sustainable.
That's awesome. You really do an excellent job as far as marketing it as a destination, like you said, especially for fishermen. I mean, you guys are very proficient on social media. You have a lot of people, almost like a street team. I always see people posting about Lake of the Woods with their walleye catches and stuff. People are excited to promote your area, which speaks volumes for having a pleasant experience as a visitor. So
no, it's true, and I think a couple of things. First off, we do have a cool destination. I mean, people love going to Lake of the Woods because, hey, no matter what, it's still fishing. However, So, a lot of good memories are made at Lake of the Woods with numbers of fish, with the potential for a trophy, all that good stuff. And, as far as the professional side of it goes, we run Lake of the Woods tourism, and I would rival it to a very effective marketing organization and a mid-sized company. We have, all the different pieces of the marketing pie going. We have television, print. I write, I'm in outdoor media, and I write for about 14 different publications. And, so much of that is education. However, when Lake of the Woods is mentioned, or my pictures are from Lake of the Woods, or whatever the case might be, let's face it helps, right? It gets the word out. And, we have a lot of digital. So there's so many different things you can do for digital now. You'd mentioned social media. And to give an example, when I came on board, our Facebook page was at about 1,250 followers. Well, right now we're over 104,000. And, that's an advertising medium in itself.
That's a lot. And it's a lot for a tourism bureau because, let's face it, say, just taking Minnesota, how many CVBs, Convention and Visitor Bureaus, how many tourism bureaus are there in the state of Minnesota? There's a ton, like a ton of them. So for you guys to be able to stand out from the pack is very impressive to me.
Yeah, well, thank you. We work at it. This isn't something that's 9 to 5. This is kind of a lifestyle, and I'm constantly watching social media, and I may be posting at 9 o'clock at night, and I don't let it overtake my life. I have balance, but at the same time, I'm always aware. And quite honestly, those are a lot of the things I watch for Lake of the Woods tourism, whether it's our own page or other people's or stakeholders' pages posting about Lake of the Woods. I'd probably be doing that anyway, just because I'm a fishing nut and I love Lake of the Woods. Yeah.
So if someone is trying to come up with a place to go fishing, say they're a big walleye fisherman, or they've never been walleye fishing, so they want to go on a trip of a lifetime, they want to go on the perfect fishing trip, why should they choose Lake of the Woods over, like, Devil's Lake or, any of the other big lakes?
Certainly. We know there's, let's face it, they call Lake of the Woods the walleye capital of the world, and it's for a very good reason. And there's a lot of really good lakes and rivers out there as well, and they're our friends. But why Lake of the Woods? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, as a walleye capital of the world, why do they call us that? I think there's some things that set us apart. First off, we literally have millions of not only walleyes but also saugers. I think secondly, we're a fishery that... Wait.
Let me interrupt you real quick. For the listeners who don't know, the saugers are a hybrid of a walleye.
Yeah, they're like a smaller cousin. So they get up to about 19 inches. That's going to be a really, really big sauger in our system. But the cool thing about saugers is that if you're ice fishing, let's say, and you're in a house, a permanent house, and you're in one location, and if those walleyes don't happen to be swimming through, oftentimes it's those saugers that not only light up your electronics, but they also fill the bucket and provide a lot of enjoyment. And it's like having double the walleyes in essence. It keeps you busy.
Just wanted to clarify because I know saugers are not prevalent throughout the United States.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yep. So I think first off we have a lot of big numbers of fish. I think secondly, Lake of the Woods in itself has a lot of space to a lot of acreage. If you consider the U.S. and the Canadian side of Lake of the Woods, we've got over 1 million acres.
Wow.
So it is big, and 14,552 islands, and we have the Rainy River, which is part of our watershed, which is famous in its own right for walleyes and sturgeon and other fish. We have the Great Big Basin of Big Traverse, which is like a Great Lake. It's about 35 miles north-south by about 25 miles east-west. So that's a big body of water. And then, of course, we have the Northwest Angle, and that's the northernmost point of the continental U.S. In fact, for your listeners, when you take a look at Minnesota, and you take a look at along the Canadian border, that little tip of Minnesota that jets up into Canada is that's all Lake of the Woods. So, we have a lot of water, and what that really means is this. Number one, we have very prolific bait sources. So if there's 3 bait sources that are down, there might be 5 others that are sustaining the fishery. In addition, spawning. Let's say that everybody thinks all the walleyes spawn in the Rainy River. And, there's a good portion that do. but it's a big lake. I mean, there's a lot of fish that are spawning in other rivers and other reefs and shoreline opportunities. And, if the walleyes lay their eggs in the rainy and we get a real cold rainstorm and cold water engulfs the rainy and kills all the eggs, we still have a spawn. In most cases, we still have a spawn going on somewhere in the lake that year. And that really helps the overall sustainability of the walleyes and sauger. I think another thing you got to consider is we're a trophy walleye fishery. And when you talk about trophy walleyes, what does it take? Well, typically, it takes the right gene pool. Talking to the DNR, if we would lose our gene pool of trophy walleyes, we may never get it back. The sun, moon, and stars have to align to create such a trophy fishery. Yeah. Secondly, you got to have big water. And, we do have big water. Third, when those walleyes get to be about 25 inches, when they start getting bigger than that, some of the walleyes are going to change their diet and actually will target the tullibees in our system. And as you know, whenever you have a lake that has big pike or big walleyes, there's a very, very good chance that it also has a good population of those high-protein fish called a tullibee or a cisco.
Do you guys stock any of the lakes?
No. It's all natural reproduction.
Okay. That's amazing. That's so cool.
We're lucky. I mean, it's a really a cool natural resource. And, to think about, between fish and you think about it, first off, for ice fishing, we are far north. So our ice is very consistent. Even on a warm year, we're out ice fishing. Secondly, because we're border water with Canada, our permanent fish houses that stay out overnight on the ice, in most of the state, the fish houses have to be off at the end of February. Up at Lake of the Woods, that extends to the end of March. So we have a whole extra month there. In addition to that, the walleye season, which would normally close at the end of February in the lower part of Minnesota, because we're border water, our season's open to April 14th. So that not only allows for a whole extra month of ice fishing, and March can be an awesome month, but it also lends itself nicely because the Rainy River opens up. And that's when those big female walleyes will go up in big numbers up the Rainy to spawn. And we actually have an opportunity farther upriver where it opens up, where people will be pushing their boats out, sometimes over ice, just to get in that open water and have a chance of catching a 14-pounder,
Wow, 14 pounds walleye, that's a big fish. People don't even understand. People who don't walleye fish don't even understand how big, that's a big fish.
Well, and I should say too, that when we fish those fish in the spring, the limits are a little bit different. Typically our limit on Lake of the Woods is you can have a combined limit of walleyes and saugers during the winter of 8 fish. Up to 4 of those can be walleyes, and then we have a slot limit. Yep, eight a day, a combined limit of 8 of walleyes and saugers, and up to 4 of those can be walleyes. And then we have a slot limit so that 19.5 inches to 28 inches, those must be returned to the water immediately, and you're allowed to keep 1 over 28 per day in case you get a trophy. So that's in the winter. In the summer, it's the same slot limit. It just the limit goes to 6 fish. Up to 4 of those can be walleyes. So, what we do in the spring on the river is we reduce that so we're not taking those big females out because those fish are spawning. What the DNR figures is that, most of the fish are coming out of shallow water. Most of them are being jigged fish. They're not using lindy rigs or anything like that. So the mortality is very, very low. And what they do is they allow you to keep 2 walleyes or saugers under 19.5 inches, nothing over.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's walk to listeners, because I have a lot of listeners who aren't that familiar with ice fishing. And I mean, obviously they understand that you're drilling a hole in the ice and you're fishing for them. But explain the whole concept of like the permanent shanties and some of the gear that one might need to use if they're going to go ice fishing up in Lake of the Woods.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the great things about Lake of the Woods is whether it's winter or whether it's summer, we have a lot of resorts and a lot of them are full service. What that really means is that, if it's you and a loved one, you and your family, you and your friends, whatever, if you haven't ice fished once or even gone open water fishing, or maybe you're intimidated by Lake of the Woods, never been there, it's big water, no worries, because, in the winter, imagine this one, Carrie. Imagine waking up in the morning at an ice resort, eating breakfast, let's say it's 7:30, your heated ice transportation will take you out to a heated fish house with the holes drilled. You fish throughout the day. The guides will check on you a couple times throughout the day to make sure that things are going well. And then at about 4:30, when it starts getting dark out, they'll pick up you and your bucket of fish, and they'll bring you back in for a happy hour, and they'll even clean your fish for you. We don't know, because of the full-service ice fishing, you've just opened up ice fishing to a large population of people that maybe wouldn't call themselves hardcore anglers. Maybe they don't have the equipment, whatever the case might be. But now, people can go out and enjoy the winter ice fishing and not have to worry about stuff because everything's taken care of.
Well, that's just it. When people reach out to me, I have a lot of gear, and it's very expensive to get into, whether regular fishing or ice fishing. It's very expensive to accumulate the gear that you really need for an all-day sit. And people will reach out and say, well, will you take me? And I'm like, I don't think you understand that I don't have enough, I'd have to go out and buy additional rods and tip-ups and stuff, where it would be better to just go to a resort like this where everybody can just go, you have a good time, somebody else already has all of the equipment needed, and you don't have to worry about anything. You can just go and have a good time. And how fun does that sound?
Yeah, it is. And you think about this one, like I tell, folks who don't know much about ice fishing, even people from, state tourism that might try to throw a spoon and promote ice fishing. So much of the time I see them throw a picture out of somebody out on a bucket on open ice. And I'm like,
I know.
Who does that anymore? Who wants to go sit in the cold all day and shiver and try to kick your hole clean, and your line's tangled in the ice, it's freezing, and but think about this one, you're with people that you want to be with, whether it's work or personal or family or whatever, and imagine that you're sitting in 70-degree comfort. Yeah. What a difference. And I did a video one time where I walked from house to house for this one resort and just interviewing people, and it was so cool because every fish house had a different culture. Wow. I stopped at one fish house, and it was a husband and wife fishing, and they had their special fold-out chairs they like to bring with little shelves. And on they're drinking Diet Cokes. I remember on their little shelves, they had 4 or 5 of their favorite lures that they were rotating throughout the day fishing. And they're just having a hoot. And then I went to another one, and there's 4 or 5 guys from the Iron Range of Minnesota. They do iron ore and stuff, and they've been going fishing together for 20+ years, and they were full of the dickens. The beer was flowing, and there was a guy on with red suspenders, and he was just a character. And but my point is that every fish house has a different culture based on who you're with, and not only is it fun fishing and actually catching fish, it's also fun eating fish. But the culture and the conversations you have throughout the day, you're nice and cozy when it's frigid outside sometimes, and it's cool. It's just a neat deal.
Well, and you guys offer, I know we have a couple in Wisconsin, up in northern Wisconsin, but it's not prolific like it is in northern Minnesota. You offer permanent ice houses that you can actually sleep in overnight. You can just go and spend the weekend on the ice. You can do night fishing, day fishing, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's fun. So a number of our resorts, in fact, offer sleeper fish houses. And then we even have some businesses that are strictly sleeper fish house businesses where that's the only thing they do as far as the fish guiding is in the winter with their sleepers. But, you go out there, and usually they're like a bunk bed setup, or there's usually a couple of bunk beds in a sleeper. And they have nice mattresses, and nowadays they have them so that they got the special material on them, and they're not soft always. They're kind of a protective material, so you feel safe. As far as who slept before you and stuff, they clean them really good. And then you bring your sleeping bag or your blankets and sheets and stuff, and everybody gets to bed, and that's kind of neat, sleeping out on the ice. It's really cold outside. Well, I'll tell you, man, when you sleep in a sleeper house, one of the things I tell people, and it's so hard to explain, but when you go outside at night, and you're so far north, and it's so dark out, the stars and the Milky Ways and it just pops. The stars
and the
just
ice
pop.
just glows. I know.
Oh, it's so cool. You have to you have to be there. Pictures don't do it justice. It's unbelievable. I mean, I've had people up there before. They're like, "This is unbelievable." I mean, I never thought it'd be like this.
It is. There's definitely a harsh beauty to the ice, and just the whole environment. It's so cool, and people who've never experienced it, I absolutely highly recommend it. Just once in a lifetime, go up. It will change your view of fishing forever. It's so cool.
The ice is cool. It's so cool. I mean, you get ice upheavals, and you get snow and wind, and the snow is blowing across. That's cool. But then you look at the sky at night. I mean, sometimes we're fortunate enough to get the northern lights, and man, when that light show was going on, holy man! I mean,
I bet
it's crazy,
Yeah, or even just the sunrises. The sunrises on the ice, spectacular.
Well, imagine this one. So like I took my daughter and her boyfriend fishing. She was in high school, and we went to a sleeper. It's a 10-by-20 sleeper, 4 bunks, and it had a cooktop and also an oven, propane oven. So I brought frozen pizzas with. We also cooked some fresh walleye in the fish house. We brought bacon and eggs. We cooked, and it's kind of neat. You wake up in the morning, and the kids were still sleeping. So I woke up and at the crack of dawn, and I'm fishing. And they were just sleeping away, no problem. But I'm fishing, and I mean, literally, I was fishing in my sweats. I mean, it's so cool. And then some people will leave a rattle reel down at night when they go to bed, and our lake isn't known for a real heavy night bite, but that's actually a positive because it's like a tourism bite. Our water has a little bit of stain to it. The water drains from the south going north, and it sits in these bogs, and it collects the tannins in the water. So it's clean water, but it's a little stained. What that really means to you is that you don't have to be out at midnight to catch walleye. Those walleyes bite during the day better than they do at night.
That's fantastic, because usually it's the opposite.
Well, yeah, and let's face it. I mean, hey, we're on vacation and stuff. Sometimes we want to stay up late, but at the same time, if we want to get some sleep and stay refreshed and stuff, it's hard to stay up all night and fish. And so this way you can just really get your rest at night and whack walleyes and saugers throughout the day. The other thing that's cool is that we have eel pout in our system, and eel pout they're a lot of names for them. They're called a burbot, or an eel pout, or a freshwater cod. But they're almost like they have kind of an eel tail to them. They're weird looking, but boy, they gain popularity because of how good they are.
They're
delicious. People call them. They're good, aren't they?
They are delicious, and they're so gross looking. They're so freaking ugly. If you just can't get past that, if you don't see what they look like before you eat them, you're like, they're delicious.
I tell you what they call them is poor man's lobster, because they almost have the consistency of lobster. And what you do is you take the back straps off, and you can also get a little bit of tail meat from them. So you don't get a ton of meat, but you get. And what you do is you cube it, and then you boil it in either 7-Up or salt water. And then what you do is dip it in melted butter. And man, is that a good appetizer?
That sounds delicious.
I'll tell you this one. I heard a funny story. There were some folks, some guys from Twin Cities who had never been in a sleeper fish house at Lake of the Woods. So they had gone, and one of them caught an eel pout, and he was really kind of freaked out because when you grab him, that tail almost wraps around your arm sometimes. It's kind of cool. I think I'm used to him, but he was freaked out by it. So when he went to bed that night, he was laying on the top bunk, and he couldn't sleep thinking about that eel pout. So after about an hour of not sleeping, he got down from his bunk bed and put all the covers on the holes just so no eel pout would come up and get him.
That's awesome. They're creepy little alien crawling out of the mud looking dudes. They're gross, but they're so good.
Yeah, you know what's funny about eel pout is that for the most part, you hardly ever catch them in open water. I mean, they go dormant during the open water season, and they're most active, during ice fishing.
Why do you think that is? Just their species?
Just the way they're made. I mean, they spawn onto the ice in like the end of February, beginning of March, in that area, and very cold water fish.
Interesting. Now, do you have a lot of other? I mean, obviously, we know you're the walleye capital of the world, but are you very prolific with like northern pike or bass or?
Yep. Well, it's a good lead, and I'll tell you about our fishery, and all BS put aside. I'm just going to tell you and take it for what it's worth. First off, pike. The DNR does netting in Lake of the Woods, and Lake of the Woods is one of the very few bodies of water in America that's still considered a trophy pike lake. The number of fish that we catch pike over 40 inches, 40 inches are right around 20 pounds. And we'll get fish at 45, 46, 47 inches, which are about 25 pounds. But we catch a lot of trophy pike, big pike area. And, because everybody's so walleye crazed, I'll tell you when the pike get the attention. The pike get the attention in March, ice fishing. And the reason for that is because, pike don't school. But what they'll do in March is they'll get ready for that spawn. So they'll congregate out in the pre-spawn areas. They'll be in the lake out in front of bays, or they'll be out in front of river mouths. But they get congregated, and that's when anglers go after them with tip-ups and quick strike rigs, and they use, big Cisco's. They hang a big Cisco down there, a live sucker, and they get some monster pike. But in March, mid-March to the end of March, it's game on for pike. So that's the northern pike part of it. In our walleye anglers catch them. They catch monsters throughout the year accidentally, just fishing walleyes.
Do you guys do a lot of lake trout?
We have lake trout in the Canadian side of Lake of the Woods, way up in the Whitefish Bay area and stuff. And in fact, it's funny because every once in a while, lake trout is caught on the southern basin, and one was just caught yesterday. Big laker was down by on the western basin. So we have lake trout. We're known as a world-class muskie fishery. The muskies are located in the north end of the lake, in the northwest angle, and up into the Ontario part of Lake of the Woods. And then when you talk about crappies, as we speak, we're whacking monster crappies up in the northwest angle. People that stay at our northwest angle resorts will oftentimes slide into the islands area of Ontario because it's literally a stone's throw off the dock. And the crappies are averaging 12 to 16 inches. They're huge. Oh,
my God.
They're huge crappies. Last year, I talked to one resort here at a sports show recently, and they had 3 crappies last year over 17 inches. And that's a monster world-class crappie,
That's incredible.
And then you had asked about smallmouth bass, and, the smallmouth, you talk about getting no respect. The old rivalry between bass anglers and walleye anglers, They you know what I mean? They call those things, I don't know what they call us, but we call them those brown things that fly out of the water, or green things if you're talking about largemouth. But we have such a good population of smallmouth bass, and the spots that get smallmouth, the Rainy River, they're full of smallmouth, and up at the northwest angle with all the 14,552 islands that extend into Ontario, the smallmouth fishing is just phenomenal. We have bass on our main basin. A lot of times those bass are focused on some of the reefs we have out there. But there's such good fishing. Here we did a promotion, probably, I don't know, 4 years ago now. It was called the Scatter Wrap Challenge, and that's when Rapala came out with their Scatter Wrap. And to make a long story short, all we could use was Scatter Wraps. And the first day I'd fished with Mark Fisher of Rapala, and we went up to the islands area, and we'd never fished this area, just pitching cranks to shore, these new Scatter Wraps. And, we were bummed out because we were 4 fish short of 100 that day. And we caught everything. The majority were smallmouth bass. Wow. And this was in June, So, the bass are, nobody fishes them. Everybody's walleye crazed.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously anytime between December 15th and March 15th is a good time to come up for ice fishing. But what about soft water fishing? Like, say somebody wants to go and spend a week somewhere. What time of the year would you suggest they come up to hit the walleyes or whatever?
Well, we have that spring fishing on the Rainy River, but that's kind of a window thing. It depends on when the ice goes out. It depends on when the walleyes run, blah, blah, blah. If you want to target trophy fish and you like fishing that right away when the ice goes out of the river and stuff, that's a fun time. Otherwise, I would say from the opening of Minnesota fishing, which is usually right around that May 12th to May 16th, whatever that Saturday is, all the way through October. Any time in there is great. We, like I told you, we really do catch walleyes all year long. And We target them like in the dog days of August. We know that those walleyes, for the majority, are going to be out in that basin in about 33 feet of water out in the middle. And we can catch them by drift and spinners. We can catch them by pulling cranks on lead core or downriggers on the charter boats. And we also fish. We do a lot of jig fishing at Lake of the Woods. Go out on a charter boat and just jig right over the side of the boat with a jig and a frozen emerald shiner or a fathead minnow. And I mentioned pulling spinners, and that's another good way to catch walleyes. But I think all summer long, from mid-May all the way through October, is a great time. A lot of it has to do with when can you get away, because our resorts will be in fish.
Awesome.
I'll tell you a good one, Carrie. One fish we didn't mention that's getting a lot of notoriety is the lake sturgeon. We have a huge population of sturgeon up on the Rainy River and Lake of the Woods, and when you fish a sturgeon, it's nothing to catch a sturgeon that's 40, 50, 60 inches long, and those fish are they're huge, and boy do they fight. And the way you fish them typically in the Rainy River, and what you do is you normally use a 3-ounce no-roll sinker in the current, and then use a short lead, about an 18-inch lead with about a 5/0 circle hook. And usually you load that with night crawlers, or maybe you put a couple crawlers and a frozen shiner on there. And you just fish the holes of the river, just like you would be fishing for carp or catfish. And, I'll tell you what, man, when you get a sturgeon, that's probably going to be the biggest freshwater fish you'll ever catch. For many people, it'll be the biggest fish they catch of their life. And we have a very long season for sturgeon. It goes from the early spring. And I think there's only one portion that's closed off, and that's part of I think at the end of May and in the beginning of June when they spawn. But other than that, there's either a catch and release season for them, or there's a keep season for them. And if you do the keep season, you're allowed to keep one sturgeon per season, per year, and you almost tag them like you would a deer. You got to tag them on the tail and stuff, and it's kind of cool,
That is awesome. That would be very cool.
Yeah, and they're prolific. It's not like, oh my gosh, I hope we catch a sturgeon. Normally it's the question would be, well, how many did you catch and how big were they today? Because normally you're going to catch a sturgeon when you fish for them.
That's awesome. What are the fishing license costs, like a non-resident fishing license?
Yeah, it's not much, because I'm told I should know that off the top of my head. I really don't know, but I can tell you that the state of Minnesota certainly doesn't gouge non-resident people. It's very reasonable, and I also know that you can buy it in an annual form, or you can buy it in different small increments, like daily and a few days here and a week here and stuff. So, folks will have to check on it, but I can tell you that it's never a barrier for fish in Minnesota. It's not like buying a non-state hunting license for some states. It's really expensive. Fishing license is pretty nominal. Yeah.
So if someone was interested in finding out more about lodging availability or amenities, can they just go to your website?
And we've really built our website up for that, so people can get information, whether you want to find out about how to catch species of fish, or, we have a whole listing of our resorts and sleeper fish house businesses and hotels and everything. And the best way to check it out is hit our website, and that is Lake of the Woods, MN for Minnesota, lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Perfect. And how do they find you on social media?
Go into Facebook and search Lake of the Woods Tourism, or, because there's a lot of Lake of the Woods stuff, so you want to find the right one. The other thing you can do is go to our webpage, and we have all of our links for social media right there.
Yeah, awesome. You guys really do have a really nice website.
Thank you.
Obviously, I work with a lot of CVBs, and there are times when I just want to beat my head against the wall because I'm like, you're not helping me. You guys, on the other hand, it's very user-friendly. You can put in your arrival dates. You can sign up for information. It looks like you can put in a request and have somebody actually tailor some information for you to help you find the right place to stay in, the right fishing guides or whatever it may be, even just the right area. Because you look at Lake of the Woods. Lake of the Woods is a big area. So the website, I definitely recommend people go check it out, lakeofthewoodsmn.com, because I spent about 3 hours on it yesterday just drooling and having fun on there.
Well, it's funny because part of it, from my perspective, I try to look at things as a tourist, and you try to dummy it down and say, well, for somebody that doesn't know anything about Lake of the Woods, what's pertinent in a website, and then the other part of it is it has to be quick. I mean, if the pages take too long to load and such, you're not going to stick around to learn. I mean, it's a hassle. So you try to make it functional as you can. It's not always easy. Carrie, I'll tell you, the other thing we do that's kind of cool is, well, first off, like most areas, we have a nice visitor guide. And our visitor guide is online on our website. But at the same time, if you want to get a physical copy, you're welcome to order that right on our website, too. We'll ship that out to you free charge. And the other thing is, we do a weekly fishing report for people who are kind of interested in keeping up with Lake of the Woods. But along with that fishing report, we actually create a newsletter, and we have 3 blogs about the area and an outdoors recipe every single week. And for people that enjoy the outdoors, we put a lot of time and effort into that, into the blogs, into the fishing report and such, and it's good learning. It's kind of fun to watch that stuff.
Mm-hmm. You also have a very nice Instagram account. It's at Walleye Capital. I was looking at some of the pictures yesterday. It seems like you guys have been posting more on there, especially with the ice fishing photos.
Yep, we sure do. Yep, we try to keep up on that. For me, I'm not real good at Instagram, but I mean, what we try to do is keep that the better photos for Instagram. I've always been told that you want to make sure you put your best foot forward with Instagram, and so we're just kind of getting into Instagram. We've been much stronger so far on our Facebook and also our Twitter and of course YouTube. We do a lot of videos, and we post videos to YouTube as well, and so our YouTube channel is Walleye Capital, and we got a lot of info there. I mean, a lot of videos. If you want to see, for instance, how to rig for a sturgeon or how do you catch walleyes in Lake of the Woods, we got a ton of videos out there like that.
Excellent. Yeah. So listeners, go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Scroll, like me, if you're on mobile, all the way to the bottom. All the social media icons are right there. Check out the website. Book your next trip, because pretty sure I've got my husband convinced to come visit next year. So
right on.
I was like, have you seen these photos? Oh my God. He's like, holy crap, we gotta go. I'm like, I know, right? Well, I think that's about all the questions that I have. Is there any other information you'd like to share that I might have missed?
Yeah, we get all of our attention for, certainly for the fishing. But I'll tell you what, we also got some fantastic hunting up at Lake of the Woods, and we have literally hundreds of thousands of acres of public forest that people can hunt, and that's kind of an anomaly in these days. A lot of times you go to public hunting land and it's hit pretty hard, and in our area we got so much land that you can hunt, and 3 species of grouse. We have the ruffed grouse, the spruce grouse, and the sharp-tailed grouse. And the ruffed grouse is by far the most popular. They're in good numbers, and they taste so good. It's like the chicken of the North Woods, And then we also have really good of course, deer hunting and bear hunting and such, but also the waterfowl hunting. And again, it's a timing thing because of the migration, like anywhere it is. But boy, I'll tell you, between the geese coming, people hunt those on the fields primarily. We have a lot of agriculture around the lake, but the ducks, boy, when the ducks come through, multi-species ducks, and we get not only the puddle ducks but also the divers. You get the bluebills, the cans, the redheads, buffleheads. I mean, you get a good variety, and that's really that can be a fun shoot as well. Because
I happen to know. Minnesota's non-resident tags are very comparable. I think you guys are like 160 or 170, which is comparable to what Wisconsin is. It's very reasonable to go hunt as a non-resident in Minnesota.
Yep, and I wouldn't say that we're gonna blow North Dakota out of the water, but I'll tell you, if you want kind of a cool hunt, even a hunt in those islands where you're kind of hiding behind rocks on a point of a rocky island, and those bluebills are buzzing through and just whistling over your head, and you hear that, and they're just where they at? There they are. You better react quick because they're going fast. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. All right, Joe. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and chat about everything. If anybody else has any questions, you can find them, like I said, at Walleye Capital on Instagram or Twitter. And check them out on Facebook and check out their website.
Thank you, Carrie.